Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing? It's Professional here. Welcome back to my playthrough of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're getting really close to the end. We're on the final case. Let's continue from where we left off. Oh, investigation part 1, so there is going to be an investigation before the trial. And also, if you guys enjoy this series, please do drop a like because it does help the series out a lot. The unexpected halt of proceedings sent a clamor around the courtroom. But outside the Bailey, where Londoners knew nothing of the secret trial within, it was a typical still night. Then, at a little past 8 o'clock that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street. 3rd November, 8:07 p.m. Sholmes' suite. Oh, what's with the big meal there? We have returned, my dear fellows. Welcome back to Britain, and thank you for your timely help. Think nothing of it. I believe you had an even more wearing day than Mikotoba and I, no? You could say that. We were on the brink of defeat in court earlier. So this prosecutor, Asoji, had you on the ropes, did he? And he's your best friend, you say? Well, he's not really the man I knew in Japan anymore. Kazuma's changed. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I mean, it's incredible. To think that he'd even entertained the idea of acting as a Reaper's assassin. Well, nevertheless, you must introduce me. After all, I've only ever met the young man as a corpse. When all this started almost a year ago now. Mr. Sholmes still hasn't told us the truth about what really happened back then. About the motivation for what he himself described as a great detective's lie. Now then, I must say, it's really quite a journey all the way to France. Well, it is another country, Mr. Sholmes. So, what news of Judge Igoku? We took him to Scotland Yard. The investigating detectives there have a lot of questions for the man. Poor Professor Mikotoba. This must be quite a shock for him. Ah, yes. I picked this up at the telegraph office on our way home. What is it? Surely you haven't forgotten already. I put it upon you for the matter only yesterday. You put upon me, Sholmes. I had to fill out your telegram to Japan and foot the bill as well. Of course he did. Oh, you had a reply already. What was so urgent though, Mr. Sholmes? Such matters can wait until later. I'm far too hungry for an involved conversation at present. Well, that's good news, because supper is ready, everyone. Ah, and what a feast it is. If I were none the wiser, I'd think the trial were won already. Roast beef, kipper, stew steak, and kidney pie, Yorkshire pudding. Tomorrow could be a very long day, so eat up. In that case, I think I'll seat myself just here. The place appears to be only one set with a helping of pheasant as well. Oh, sorry, Hurley, not there. Why ever not? Are we in set places this evening? Yes, and that place is for Susie's daddy. For me. That's right. I made it especially for you, Professor Mickey. I see. Well, that's terribly kind of you. It's a shame, really. What do you mean? Well, for a brief moment, I believed it. That Susie and I were half-sisters, I mean. Oh. Irish, do you mean... Yes, I know now. I overheard yesterday. I secretly listened into the conversation you had, after I tricked you all into thinking I'd left. What? The misunderstanding arose because of that autopsy report from 10 years ago. But actually, it turned out that neither Dr. Wilson nor Professor Mikotoba are Iris's father. Then who is Iris's father? Yes, about that, Irish. You know, I know. You can't tell me at the moment. Oh, Irish. Who is her father then, if it's not Mikotoba or Wilson? The pheasant is, by way of an apology. I'm sorry for eavesdropping. Oh. No, that's quite alright. Then why don't I get any apologetic pheasant? So, just who is Irish's father? I suppose that's not something we'll be finding out today. So then, let us dine, while our largely pheasant-less plates are still piping hot. A fine idea, Sholmes. It all looks absolutely delicious. Eat as much as you like, there are always seconds. This could be our last chance to ask questions before tomorrow's trial. About that telegram from Japan, and about Kazuma. I can't let this opportunity slip away. Okay, Sholmes is just sitting there on the couch. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Surely it's abundantly clear that I wasn't brooding over Mikotoba's refusal to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I felt the need to withdraw from the social circle for a while and look on with hungry eyes. Sorry, Hurley, but I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy. Even though I've played the role of father to you for far longer. Mr. Sholmes, could I discuss some things with you? Certainly, my dear fellow. I find myself quite in the mood for a spell of conversation. Wow, his mood really changed. No doubt. You're hungry to learn more of my deep love of game. I can probably contain my curiosity on that one. You needn't look at me in that fashion. In what fashion? It seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some rather unpheasant matters to discuss. Telegram from Japan. So, what was in the telegram you received back from Japan then? This? I thank my lucky stars it arrived in time. Record found as indicated. Duplicate follows. K. Asoji, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. What? Those 4 names. We've come across that exact same list before. Yup, that was what was in the government telegrams that was being sent. They were being they were being stolen in case 5. They came up in that unforgettable case last spring. What appeared to be a simple case of aggravated murder turned out to be masking monumental intrigue. A plot that involved the sale of British governmental secrets to foreign states. In exposing the means by which those secrets were being leaked, we deciphered a fragment of a message. K. Asoji, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we didn't find the names out until the case was over. We never did get to the bottom of what they meant. All we knew was that the information had been sent by somebody in the British government to somebody in Japan. But why those names? So why are the names coming up again now? Yes, where did the sender of your telegram discover them, Mr. Sholmes? I have here the message I had wired yesterday. Allow me to read it to you. Enter Judge Shigoku's office undetected and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communication from Britain dated 1 year ago. List of 4 names. Need by tomorrow. Naruhodo. I sent it to a detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature. You asked Inspector Hosonaga to undertake such an onerous task for you. And my name? I wonder what guise he opted for this time. My dear fellows, it's a matter of great urgency, you understand. Anyway, the list of names was found in Shishiro's office, as Sholmes predicted. So you mean that mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was... It was sent to Judge Shigoku. He was the intended recipient. I don't believe it. Why would Judge Shigoku want those names? But it doesn't answer the question of what the list of names actually signifies. I did formulate a hypothesis about that. but without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it. Mr. Sholmes looks deadly serious for once. Telegram from Inspector Hosonaga in Japan with details of the telegram he managed to locate by stealing into Judge Jigoku's office. There is so much evidence in this case. Record finds indicate duplicate follows: Keisoji, A-Sin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson, Hosonaga. And then this thing. What is this thing again? A small machine part Mr. Sholmes found in Judge Jigoku's cabin on the SS Grouse. Yes, we should look at this. What is this thing exactly? You see those little things all over the place, don't you? It's the part on top of a pocket watch that you twist to set the time, isn't it? It's called the crown, I believe. A watch that would be quite useless without one. The crown, like what sits on top of a monarch's head. That's a very grand name for such a tiny part. But actually, yes, Mr. Naruhodo, if this is a crown, I have a feeling I might have seen a monarch around here somewhere with a very, very bare head. If by monarch you mean pocket watch, then I'm quite sure you have. Kazuma's death. That tragedy we had to go through on the SS Buria. It was all for nothing. Kazuma wasn't dead at all. We were completely taken in by the lie you told us. Your great detective lie. I took no pleasure in deceiving you. However, at that time, all that concerned me was preventing the young man's study tour from taking place, whatever the cost. What? I capitalized on the events that transpired to see that he was sent back to Japan. His remains, you mean? Precisely, Miss Susato. And then, I made sure that somebody else was sent to Britain in his stead. Oh my, you mean... The arrangement between our two countries was already in place. One university student lawyer and one judicial assistant to be accommodated on a student study tour. In other words, by arranging for someone else to fill the place originally intended for Mr. Asoji, I would successfully prevent the man from arriving on our shores for several years at least. But why? I think it's because somebody would want to kill him. That's probably why. Wait, do you mean to say that it was all in the aid of stopping Kazuma coming to Britain? That's why you... Think back, Mr. Naruhodo. Was there not somebody who quite casually urged you to continue on the voyage to England? That was Mr. Sholmes. The terms of the study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. In the light of Mr. Asoji's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely. But there is no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer. The voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer. So, you manipulated me. I've often remarked on the extraordinary lengths to which friendship will drive a man. I was quite sure that you would rise to the challenge for your late friend. I don't believe it. But if it was all contrived, I mean, what happened was treated by the authorities as murder. A woman mistakenly arrested as the perpetrator. What do you suppose became of her? Naturally, I didn't allow the misapprehension to have any serious repercussions. I subsequently explained everything and assisted the unfortunate soul in finding the foreign refuge she sought. I seem to remember Miss Susato and I had some rather strong words for her. Well, she was certainly not devoid of all guilt. She deserved every word, I'm sure. I wonder if she made it to America then. I'm afraid I simply cannot comprehend it. Why would you go to such lengths, Mr. Sholmes? I think it's because Kazuma's life was in danger. Why were you so determined to stop Kazuma-sama from reaching Britain? The truth is, 12 months ago, there was already a very tangible omen of the impending tragedy. See, omen means something bad is going to happen. Oh? An omen that, at this very moment in time, is close at hand. An omen of all these tragic events that already existed a year ago is close at hand. We need to find out exactly what Mr. Sholmes knows. How do I get him to keep talking here? Okay. How do I get Mr. Sholmes to keep talking now? There's so much evidence in this case. Oh my god, this case is gonna be so hard. Oh my god, when the trial comes up, it's gonna be, not gonna be easy at all. Look at how much evidence there is, damn. Maybe the armband? No. I have to present him with something, but what? An omen of all these tragic events already existed a year ago. It's close at hand. We need to find out exactly what Mr. Sholmes knows. An omen of all these tragic events that already existed a year ago is close at hand. Not that picture. I wonder what I have to show him. The Asoji papers, maybe? No, it's not that either. The telegram. There was no room for doubt with your instructions in this telegram, Mr. Sholmes. You were very clear that it was Judge Shigoku's office that should be searched, so you obviously knew that's where the list of names would be found. K. Asoji, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we only learned of those names just over 6 months ago now, and only because they appeared as part of the top-secret government communications that were leaked. That's true, yes. But at the time, you were unaware of the background. You see, those 4 names were wired to Japan. Around 6 months before that, approximately this time last year, in fact, when you were both still in Japan. Wait a second. Wait a second. A. Shin, and there's a slash on K. Asoji. T. Gregson slash with J. Wilson. Wait a second. What if that's an assassination? What if the what if the slash represents the assassination for the target, and the right side is the assassin? We know that Ace Shin was the assassin in Japan, and it says Kazuma Asoji. She was to kill Kazuma Asoji. That's why he wasn't supposed to go to Britain, because he was a target. They were going to try to kill him. And then here, Gregson. It looks like Gregson is also a target on here. But J. Wilson on there. John Wilson. That's the guy that died in the very first case that Ace Shin killed. Was he an assassin as well? Was he in Japan on an assassination mission? But why did Ace Shin kill him also, if he was also an assassin? That's what I'm starting to wonder. Let's see here. It really would be hypocrisy on my part to reprove others for intercepting state secrets. Because, after all, I'm perpetually eavesdropping on communications between the British and Japanese governments. You're perpetually doing what? How? Never mind the details, but you should know, no secret is safe from Herlock Sholmes, when he has designs on knowing it. Oh my, Mr. Sholmes. What a fabulous line. Now, 1 month after that list of 4 names was wired to the recipient Jigoku in Japan, Dr. John H. Wilson was murdered. As soon as I learned of the incident, a hypothesis rapidly took shape in my mind. As it turned out, I was partly correct and partly mistaken. Nevertheless, it was the beginning of all the tragic events that were to follow. Mr. Sholmes, please, tell us all you know. Tell us about these 4 names and the tragedy to which they're all somehow connected. The 4 names. As I said, when I learned of Dr. Wilson's murder in Japan, my mind immediately turned to these 4 names, because you see, there was somebody else on the list, who I believe to be recently deceased. What? Who? Ace Shin, as it was transcribed in Japanese script. In actual fact, Miss Asa Shin. That was a familiar name to me. She was a professional killer, well known among London's unsavory classes. Oh, I see. But she had completely vanished from existence several months before Wilson's murder. So I came to the logical conclusion that she had herself been killed. And accordingly, I became fearful for the lives of the remaining 2 persons on the list. K. Asoji and T. Gregson. Owing to our proximity, I decided to take measures to protect Gregson myself, but I determined it would be safest if young Asoji were to stay away from Britain. So that's why he went to such lengths to prevent his study tour from going ahead. Exactly. So, you already knew who Kazuma-sama was, Mr. Sholmes. Oh yes, Sholmes and I have exchanged correspondence for years. I'd recounted many tales about Asoji to him in my letters, and the news of Dr. Wilson's death, of course. So, Dr. Wilson is dead then? I didn't know. Oh, Irish. I know he wasn't my daddy, but still. That's very sad. I'm so sorry, Iris. We knew the significance of the name, obviously, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to tell you. No. But what you just told us, Mr. Sholmes, doesn't completely tie in with the facts. There's one big hole in your hypothesis. A big hole, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, yes. You mean about Asa Shin, I presume. Oh, of course. Exactly. She wasn't killed, was she? She was in Japan posing as a visiting student under the assumed name of Giselle Brett. I'm glad you're keeping up, my dear fellow, but I only became aware of that fact 2 days ago, in the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel. Ah. And upon hearing that startling revelation, the hypothesis that I formed surrounding those 4 names was completely turned topsy. What? Topsy? Topsy hypothesis. What do you mean when you say your hypothesis was turned topsy, Mr. Sholmes? I had believed all 4 names on the list to be the names of victims. However, I was mistaken. Very much so. Asa Shin was a killer. So this telegram is a list of both victims and killers, is it? Indeed. And it would seem that Miss Shin was dispatched from Britain with the sole intention of dispatching Dr. Wilson. Her visiting student status being merely a front. Ah. Which would of course explain why no motive could be determined for her actions. So the real reason Dr. Wilson was killed by Asa Shin is because he was a target of an assassination. And forearmed with that knowledge, fresh consideration of this telegram puts the list in a very different perspective. What do you mean? Well, does it not strike you, there is another among the four, who subsequently became a visiting student. Wait, you mean... But of course, a name you know only too well. You mean Kazuma? Oh. He did say in court earlier today. Yes, on 31st of October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. And the mission was the assassination of the Mark. Young Mr. Asoji accepted that mission a year ago now. Surely not. Wait, so the top is the killers then. Kazuma, Soji, and Ace Shin, and the targets were Gregson and Wilson. Those were the two targets then. In conclusion, this document is a contract of sorts. An international agreement, one might say, detailing an assassin exchange. An assassin exchange. How could Kazuma possibly have gotten involved in something like that? Assassin exchange. Let's assume that we have two parties, each wishing to dispose of a distinct individual. Those two parties then make a contract to swap their respective assassination targets. That would then be an assassin exchange. So to begin with, the British assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Japan, where she kills her target. And then, the Japanese assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Britain in order to eliminate his target. It certainly does sound like an exchange. But, what on earth is the point? Don't forget, Naruhodo, that the British assassin at least escaped conviction, thanks to diplomatic immunity afforded by consular jurisdiction. Oh yes. Such jurisdiction should be null and void under the terms of the new treaty between our two countries. So the fact that it was brought into play suggests intervention at the very highest levels. The highest levels, Strongheart. These murders were two sides of the same coin, linked not by a common motive, but by contractual agreement. As such, they appeared utterly unrelated. Yet in truth, the assassins were complicit in one singular devilish scheme. That disassociation and a safeguard in diplomatic immunity were, I believe, the motivation behind this plot. But wait a minute, Sholmes. If this telegram really is describing the exchange of assassins as you're suggesting, it would mean that the Japanese killer's target was never Shishiro Jigoku at all. It would mean Asoji's target was actually Inspector Gregson. What? Kazuma was here for Gregson. So Jigoku wasn't actually the mark. Yes, that's exactly what it would mean. I hold myself personally responsible for failing to keep the inspector safe. Mr. Sholmes. I told him of my fears and implored him to seek a transfer to an overseas position. Obviously, with the young pickpocket in tow. Yes, Gina. Come to think of it, Inspector Gregson did mention that to us at the Great Exhibition, that he'd been transferred to the Paris police and taken Gina with him. So that's why he was going to France, because he knew he would be a target. But without informing me, he engaged in one last assignment, it seems. And sadly, it turned out to be his very last. So Gregson wasn't working with the Reaper then. This is too much to take in. This is too much to take in. This is the largest conspiracy that I've ever seen in an Ace Attorney game. Like, this is, because there's a lot of conspiracies in Ace Attorney games, like multiple people involved in covering something up. This is by far the largest conspiracy, going across all the way across the globe with like different assassins, some ringleader that's controlling this, like Gregson's death, the Barrack being accused of this, all of this stuff, all of this together, all these people involved, you know, Mr. Vigil with his disguise and taking Gregson's, like, you know, ID. Like, this is just something, you know, just huge. This is massive. This is like, is there even a larger word than conspiracy? Because if there is a word to describe something larger than a conspiracy, this is that. Because this is just massive. And this is involving governments as well, I believe. So you have the government of, some parts of the government of Japan, Judge Goku is somehow in on this. And you have the government of Britain is also partly in on this. You have Lord Strongheart. I don't think the whole governments are in on it, obviously. But I feel strongly that Judge Goku and Lord Strongheart are in on this conspiracy somehow. The extent, I don't know yet. I think that Strongheart might be the ringleader. That's what I think, at least. He might be the puppet master. And Jigoku might be the representative in Japan for that organization. But why? Oh, I don't want to hit auto. Isn't it Hurley? I mean, look at the time. Ah, quite right, Iris. We must conclude our preparations for tomorrow. What preparations? Well, I think I shall make my way back to my hotel room now. This has certainly been a night to remember. It is. A little bit sad, though. I mean, I like the idea of you being my daddy. Because then, Susie would have been my big sister. I'm sorry, Iris. I know, Iris. I was thinking quite the same thing. Were you? But if somebody like me would be worthy, I would be delighted to become your sister. What? Really? Oh yes, without a question. So, you'll teach me all the ways you know to throw Runo to the floor. Yes, of course. It will be my pleasure. You didn't have to agree quite so readily. Oh, but wait a minute. If Susie's going to be my big sister, you could be my big brother if you want, Runo. Huh? I mean, yes, of course. If you'll have me, I'll gladly be your brother. Well done, Iris. We must always be mindful of feelings. I've raised you so well. Because being sensitive is your strong suit, naturally. Right, I'm going to work extra hard for tomorrow now, because it's for my big brother and sister. What is all this talk about preparing for tomorrow? Preparing what? Hey, you'll just have to wait and see. Oh. Good luck in court tomorrow. I'm expecting a sterling performance. I'll do my very best, of course. So the overnight break in the trial's proceedings became a crucial turning point, exposing a new truths while posing new conundrums. That list of 4 names on the telegram in Judge Goku's office, and the extraordinary assassination plot in which my best friend had somehow become involved. I felt as though I had been plunged into an even greater darkness of all of a sudden. But at the same time, I felt sure I would see the light again soon. Because I was lucky enough to have the most wonderful family in the world standing steadfastly behind me. Oh, so it ends here. This is probably the shortest part so far. Yeah, this is the shortest part. I always end on the to be continued page, so I guess we'll end off here, but that's, yeah. That is definitely the shortest part. Because some of the Ace Attorney parts go up to like 3 hours, but this was definitely the shortest part. So, thank you guys for watching. On the next part, I'll have the trial up. We're going to be in the trial, and I'm assuming it's going to be either the final part or the second to final part, because we're really close. This is the final case. There really isn't that much left, so this is it. So thank you guys for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you think down below, because this is just something massive. This is a giant conspiracy. This is just I don't really have words for this. This is just all the people involved, both the British and Japanese government, these assassins, these telegrams, Judge Goku, Lord Strongheart, Kazuma, what the hell is going on here? Gregson, what is the link here? Why these murders? How is Barrack involved in this too? Did Barrack's brother have something to do with this? 10 years ago. And on top of that, we also have the serial killer, the professor from 10 years ago, the serial killer. How is the serial killer tied into this? Because the serial killer and Kazuma's father, Genshin Asoji, has something to do with this as well. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone.